Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 crisis turned the spotlight on the importance of reliable and uninterrupted power supply. Nothing works without electricity, and no task could be accomplished without reliable communication networks, which in turn is dependent on electricity. A wise man once called electricity the soul of the universe. Indeed, the might of electricity has been understood by the entire humankind. The way we work and live has dramatically changed in a short span of time. And despite the adversities it has introduced into our lives, COVID-19 has opened the floodgates of innovation and transformation with profound implications that are gainful in the long run. And I have to say, digitalization and utilities have been advanced by at least half a decade in India. The level of automation and digitalization that would have taken another decade in power utilities would now happen in 2/10 that time, which is in the next 2 years or so. And the culture of remote working and use of third-party owned digital platforms for meetings and collaborations have instilled confidence in utilities to adopt cloud technologies and applications hosted on the cloud. Digital platforms have become the coveted assets for utilities in their business continuity and resiliency. And this movement towards digitalization really is now irreversible. As you are aware, ladies and gentlemen, ISGF has been spearheading the movement towards digitalization of utilities in India. And with this objective, ISGF has been organizing its flagship annual event, India Smart Utility Week, since 2015. And it is considered as one of the top 5 international events on smart grids and smart cities. And as you can see, these were several editions. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 5th edition in 2020, 7th edition in 2021 on digital platform. And well, with 7 successful editions of India Smart Utility Week, India Smart Grid Forum really takes the pleasure of welcoming all of you to India Smart Utility Week 2022. And I would really want you and request you to join us for all the sessions. And there are very, very insightful sessions. We have thematic sessions such as digitalization of utilities and digitalization roadmaps, and regulations for the evolving green grid of the 21st century, cybersecurity for the digitalized grids, power system flex. And ladies and gentlemen, electric vehicles and the electric grids and grid integrated vehicles. We also have green hydrogen mission, disruptive technologies and innovations for utilities. So those are thematic sessions, ladies and gentlemen. And we have special plenary sessions at ISUW 2022, such as evolving architecture of the 21st century grid with two-way power flows, and of course, role of media and promotion of green energy and energy transition to net zero. With that, let me also take you through our bilateral workshops at ISUW 2022. The 11th EU India Smart Grid Workshop in partnership with European Union is going to be held. First, Germany India Smart Energy Workshop in partnership with GIZ Germany. And also 8th US India Smart Grid Workshop in partnership with US Commercial Services, USAID, USIBC. We also have India Smart Utility Week focused workshops. So very focused workshops on empowering women in power and water sector in partnership with WePower. And we also have optimization of levelized cost of green energy in partnership with Schneider Electric. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a workshop on live line maintenance and utilities in partnership with Hotline Training Center and Altec. And here are the seminars at ISUW 2022, Smart City Gas Distribution in partnership with Natural Gas Society and India CGD Forum, and Smart Water Distribution, and Smart Communication Solutions for Smart Utilities and Smart Cities in partnership with TSDSI and TEC. With that, that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. We have roundtables at ISUW 2022, Interconnection of Regional Grids in Asia in partnership with European Union, SARI, IRADe, and we have USAID also supporting this. We'd also like to tell you about the Smart Metering Roundtable on Rollout Challenges, System Integration Architecture, Smart Meter Operations Center, and electric cooking in partnership with Bureau of Energy Efficiency and Climate Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. So we also have urban air mobility systems pilots in India in partnership with Boeing, and adoption of district cooling systems in India in partnership with Bureau of Energy Efficiency and APUEA. Ladies and gentlemen, India Smart Grid Forum once again extends a very hearty welcome to you all at India Smart Utility Week 2022, which is being held from 2nd to 4th March 2022 on a digital platform, the 8th International Conference and Exhibition on Smart Energy and Smart Mobility. So with that very hearty welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to inform you that we have in our midst the gracious presence of the Honorable Union Minister of State, Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, Shri Bhagwan Kuba, who is an engineer by qualification, a very, very able statesman by choice, and a farmer by passion. Now, before we begin, we have the lamp lighting ceremony with our chief guest leading it, Shri Bhagwan Kuba, our Honorable Minister, leading the lamp lighting ceremony. Also in our midst are dignitaries, Shri Ashok Lavasa, Vice President, Private Sector Operations and Public-Private Partnerships, Asian Development Bank, former Election Commissioner and former Finance Secretary in India, who had a long stint in the Ministry of Power as well. Warm welcome, sir. We have His Excellency Ugo Astuto, European Union Ambassador to India. Warm welcome, sir. We have Ms. Gauri Singh, Deputy Director General, International Renewable Energy Agency. Warm welcome, ma'am. We have Mr. Praveer Sinha, Managing Director, Tata Power Company Limited. A very warm welcome to you. We have Professor Jean-Michel Glochon, Director, Florence School of Regulation. Welcome, sir. We have Shri Debashish U. Banerjee, Managing Director, CSC Kolkata Limited, CSC Kolkata Limited, and we have Mr. Amal Sinha, Executive Director, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited and BSES Yamuna Power Limited. We have Ms. Deepti V. Dutt, Head Strategic Initiatives, Public Sector, Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. Shri N. Venu, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, India and South Asia, Hitachi Energy. We have Mr. Richard Schomburg, President, RJ Synergy, EDF Fellow, and IEC Special Envoy for Smart Electrification. Warm welcome, sir. We have Ms. Reena Suri, Executive Director, India Smart Grid Forum, and of course, the President of India Smart Grid Forum, Mr. Reji Kumar Pillai, joining us for the lamp lighting ceremony. So thank you very much for being here for the lamp lighting ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, and invoking the India, traditionally, we always start with the lighting of the lamp. This, of course, is a digital lamp, but we invoke the blessings of the Almighty and we often chant the shlok, Shubham Karoti Kalyanam, Arogyam Dhana Sampada, Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya, Deepajyotir Namostute, which means we pray to you, O Lord of Light, the giver of prosperity, good health, and joy, and the remover and destroyer of an inimical mind. Thank you, esteemed dignitaries, for being here with us for the lamp lighting ceremony. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me now take the privilege of introducing and inviting the President of India Smart Grid Forum and the Chairman of Global Smart Energy Federation, Shri Reji Pillai. As I said, he's been the President of India Smart Grid Forum since its inception in 2011 and is also the Chairman of Global Smart Energy Federation since November 2016. He is an internationally renowned expert.
Thank you, Aishwarya.
Over to you, sir.
Good morning, warm welcome to all of you, all the dignitaries from around the world joined us for this inaugural ceremony. This is the third time in a row we are conducting India Smart Utility Week in difficult times under the cloud of fear, I must say. In 2020, first week of March, our program started when the COVID-19 had first arrived in India. Some of our dignitaries could not even travel. We typically get 2,000 plus people physically come for India Smart Utility Week from 50 plus countries. In 2020, we had around 1,600 plus people from about 31 countries. So program went well, but everybody was afraid what will happen. And we have seen how COVID spread out and impacted the entire 2020. And 2021 beginning things look better, although we decided to conduct ISUW on a digital platform. And the second wave was already on its go. And again, people were really worried and what is going to happen. And we have seen the impact of COVID in the second wave when millions of people around the world died. By grace of God, we are all here today and we can thank God enough for that. But now, the third year in a row, ISUW 2020, we are facing a terrible war that is escalating and there were not many physical programs. So we thought of conducting ISUW 2022 in New Delhi, and then in November 2021, the Omicron came, and the third wave became very, very difficult around the world with more travel restrictions, and we had to again move it back to a digital platform. I'm thankful for all our patrons who are supporting this program, all the speakers who are joining from different parts of the world, and we hope we will be able to conduct this program successfully in next 3 days. This ongoing war again has underscored the importance of energy security. I recently seen a tweet from somebody, while the oil prices go up, the cost of sunlight remains the same. Irrespective of whatever happens around the world, your solar energy, your wind energy, the cost doesn't impact. So this volatility in the energy prices around the world is actually a prime reason for the energy transition and pushing for new technologies so that every country can have their own energy security. ISGF right from beginning have tried to bring emerging technologies, ideas for energy transition and energy security. And we also fostered collaboration with several countries and organizations on the forefront of research and innovation. From Europe, from Japan, from Germany, from USA, from Canada, all these countries, the research institutions, laboratories, utilities, forward-looking utilities who have adopted technologies, tried, piloted them, all those experiences we've been able to get people to India in our forums like ISUW and the distribution utility meet, which we do in November, and we've been able to bring those technologies. At the same time, some of these technologies are being tried in advanced countries. So that has been our major achievement. I am not going to get into the detailed items, but many of these conversations, ideas which have been exchanged at ISUW and other forums, which have helped in shaping India's programs and projects for energy transition and electric mobility and other programs for smart infrastructure. The forward-looking utilities in India who have adopted some of this, those who actively participated and collaborated with the foreign entities whom we brought into India, they have immensely gained. And today, some of the, without naming, some of the private forward-looking utilities are at par with the best utilities in advanced countries today in terms of smart grid technologies implementation and digitalization. So since we are running a bit late, and also I'm some of the participants in the inaugural session need to leave for government meetings as well as for travel. I won't get into the detailed items. I will come to welcoming all of you. First start with Mr. Richard Schomburg, who is President of RJS Energy, EDF Fellow, and IEC Special Envoy for Smart Electrification. Right from 2015 onwards, Mr. Richard Schomburg has been assisting us, guiding us for structuring this program and helped us make it into an internationally recognized program wherein all experts from around the world converge into. A very warm welcome to you from Paris, Mr. Schomburg. Thank you very much for your constant support. I would now move on to Mr. Devashish Banerjee, Managing Director of CAC Limited, Kolkata, another forward-looking utility who is implementing several new technologies and work very closely with the India Smart Grid Forum. So very warm welcome to you, Mr. Banerjee, for ISUW 2022, and we really recognize the constant support you and CSC been extending to ISGF and ISUW. Mr. N. Venu, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of India South Asia for Hitachi Energy, which used to be called till last year ABB Power Grids, and in the old days as ABB itself. So Venu is a veteran in the power sector and veteran in ABB itself. The company now called Hitachi Energy with more products and solutions from both the continents, and they've been a platinum supporter with us right from 2015 onwards. And I thank Venu for your constant support and guidance, and also welcome you for this inaugural session of ISUW 2022. I'll welcome Diti Dutt, who been my colleague in IBM days, and now she is the strategic initiatives head for public sector for Amazon Web Services in India. And again, for the past couple of years, Amazon been our top partner for ISUW and Distribution Utility Meet. And very warm welcome to you, Deepti. Mr. Amal Sinha, who has now been elevated as the Executive Director of both BSES Rajdhani Power Limited and BSES Yamuna Power Limited. And again, members of India Smart Grid Forum, and a constant supporter and of our programs, ISUW and Distribution Utility Meet. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Sinha. Professor Jean-Michel Glachand, Director of the Florence School of Regulation, been working very closely with ISGF on several areas in India. And very warm welcome to you, Professor, and your advice and your guidance are very valuable to us in all our endeavors. Mr. Pravir Sinha, you've been a constant support for ISG from very beginning. You served on our boards so long you were in Delhi, and now you're enhanced the role as Managing Director of the Tata Power Company and Chief Executive Officer. You still spare no effort in helping us whenever we reach out to you. Both the Tata companies now have the entire Orissa, the 4 companies in Orissa, they are also part of our chain. And Mr. Sinha, very warm welcome to you, and we look forward to you for your continued support. Madam Devi Singh, Irina is doing very groundbreaking work on clean energy, on green hydrogen. Several of your reports and your support for India we really value, and thank you very much for joining our program. Last year also a couple of our programs and webinars you personally participated, and we thank International Renewable Energy Agency, and in particular your support, Ms. Singh, for our programs. And I take the pleasure of welcoming you for this ISUW 2022. Ambassador, His Excellency Ugo Astuto, European Union Ambassador to India. Sir, you've been also with us for last 3 years, and physical programs you personally came, and last year and this year you are with us on the virtual platform. And European Union, we are doing India EU Smart Grid workshop for last 7 years now. This is the 11th edition we will be doing virtually this year, and we hope pre-COVID days every year one workshop we used to do some location in Europe. The last one we did was in 2019 in Paris on the sidelines of European Utility Week, and the one before that we did it in Florence at the Florence School of Regulation. And this year we hope COVID and the war situation will permit us to have some next EU-India Smart Grid Workshop, the 12th edition, somewhere in Europe this summer or autumn. A very warm welcome to you, Ambassador Astuto, to ISUW 2022. So very pleased to meet Mr. Lavasa. Sir, you had a very long stint in Ministry of Power as Joint Secretary and Additional Secretary before you became Secretary Aviation, then on to Ministry of Environment and Forest, and finally Finance Secretary, and later occupied the constitutional post of Election Commissioner to India. And you are doing great job now with ADB and Asian Development Bank being part of ISGF activities right from beginning. We received constant support, and we also participate in the ADB's program, Asia Clean Energy Forum. Last 2 years it went virtual. There also we had several sessions we conducted. So we look forward to your personal help for the power sector, and you suddenly manage the private sector activities in ADB, and we look forward to your constant support for the power sector, which is you are really passionate about it. And a very warm welcome to you, Lavasa sir, for gracing this occasion, and welcome to ISUW 2022. Honorable Minister Bhagavant Koba has kindly consented to inaugurate our program. I hope he'll be joining us in few minutes. I have the pleasure and honor of welcoming Sri Bhagavant Koba, Honorable Minister of State for New and Renewable Energy as well as Chemicals and Fertilizers to Government of India to ISUW 2022. And thank you very much. Back to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for setting the context for this edition, the 8th International Conference in India Smart Utility Week 2022. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to take the privilege of inviting our next speaker, Shri Amal Sinha, Executive Director, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited and BSES Yamuna Power Limited. And to introduce him, I'd like to say he's a graduate of Delhi's prestigious SRCC, a chartered and cost accountant with more than 35 years of rich experience under his belt, and his deep understanding transcends manufacturing and service sectors with expertise in areas like power distribution, corporate finance, strategy planning, budgetary and financial control, audits of various kinds, regulatory affairs, and Indian accounting standards. And under his leadership, BRPL has been able to supply 24/7 reliable and quality electricity to its consumers in South and West Delhi. And it was in 2021 that Mr. Sinha has been given the responsibility of both the DISCOMs, which is BSES Rajdhani and BSES Yamuna, as the Executive Director and Group CEO of the BSES Delhi Power Distribution business, which manages a combined consumer base in excess 4.5 million and the largest private sector power distribution business in India at a single geographical location. With that said, a very warm welcome and namaskar to you, sir. I welcome you to please now take the stage and address all of us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to be given this opportunity to share my thoughts with all of you today, and I'm particularly thankful to ISGF and Mr. Reji in particular. Currently, as you know, the world is the world over the power distribution scenario is changing very rapidly. The greater integration of renewable energy, growth in rooftop solar, smart grids and smart initiatives, and various applications, and need for electric vehicle charging infrastructure are all leading to a very large variation and unpredictability in the spheres of power management and network operation for a distribution utility. The further opportunities to meet the consumer expectations are going up, and we need extensive and comprehensive engagement in that direction. To address these changing scenarios, utilities are opting for smart grid technology. Further, very successful implementation of the distribution energy resource management system is desirable, along with the regulatory support. We also need to keep in mind that the inherent feature of any smart grid is the digitization and digitalization of its various activities. So data analytics and machine learning's IoT application will help us for better resource planning, resulting into cost optimization, better delivery of our services. A smart grid will bring down the average cost of power and the operations, and therefore we'll be happy to share the benefits of technology with our esteemed consumers. The Indian utilities have always faced the challenge of monthly meter reading exercise, as we have seen in the COVID era recently. And there, I think the mandate given by the Ministry of Power for introducing smart meters in a time-bound manner is a big challenge for all of us. And BSES definitely is taking this challenge very seriously, and we are trying to take this rollout in the years to come as per the government mandate. Further, the power sector is undergoing a lot of modernization. The utilities are adopting high-speed and more reliable communication technology. Cloud-based storage and applications, big data analytics These are the buzzwords for the industry. In the coming future, the speed of data collection and analysis can help in better planning and execution of our services. The current transition is particularly unique one since it is an integral part of the energy environment, and particularly where we have an opportunity to reduce the carbon content. Decarbonization is one of the important milestones for our sector now, where of course we have been shifting to the from the conventional to the renewable sources. For instance, in BSCS companies, we'll be almost drawing 50% of our power purchase portfolio from renewable and green sources, and we are moving towards a green discom. Of course, the challenges and opportunity are coming through green hydrogen policy, which has been announced by the government recently. Further technological discussions at ISUW would be very, very encouraging, and it will be a great learning experience for us. And we see this as an opportunity where we get the international experience, and we are also able to showcase what we have done as a distribution utility, where we are operating at less than 7% AT&C loss and ensuring reliability and quality of power. At the end, my very best wishes to the whole team of ISGF, to all the participants, and the experts who have been drawn from various sources. And we wish ISUW 2022 to be a great successful platform for all these initiatives. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Shri Sinha. Thank you very much indeed for rendering that special address. In fact, I'd like to say a very heartening special address as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let me take the privilege of introducing and inviting our next speaker for this inaugural, our special addressee, Mr. Richard Schomburg, President, RJ Synergy, EDF Fellow, and IEC Special Envoy for Smart Electrification. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he's the recipient of the IEC 2011 Lord Kelvin Award. He designed multi-million euros complex systems for critical operations, and he has been Professor of System Engineering at Supelec Paris, Chair of the IntelliGrid Strategy Committee, Electric Power Research Institute, recipient of the Chauncey Star Award 2005, and he has been member of the Technology Advisory Board of Southern California, Edison Emeritus member of the US DOE Gridwise Architecture Council. And of course, he holds the responsibility of EDF R&D activities in North America. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, there's also sourcing and transferring innovations to EDF Group in Europe is what he takes care of. He is currently in charge of strategy and smart energy standardization activities across EDF. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Schomburg. It's now over to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. I'm very honored to be invited year after year at the India Smart Utility Week, and to witness and contribute to the success of this incredible adventure. I am Richard Schomburg, representing IEC, the Standard Development Organization based in Geneva. And also, I'm very honored to be an ISGF advisor. So what is our collective world challenge? Life is beautiful despite its many ups and downs, right? COVID-19 will be remembered as the virus that stopped the world, but solidarity and extraordinary measures have been adopted in response. And now the world is tragically shaken by major armed conflicts, with energy security of supply at stake. Well, the resilience of human species has allowed it to survive on Earth and develop fascinating mechanisms to manage future threats and get back even stronger. From in the aspiration, right, life itself is a miracle, and many tiny miracles are taking place around us continuously. Once you choose hope, anything is possible, and this is very welcome to universally ensure long-term sustainability of food, water, and energy security. Very welcome to face energy demand that is climbing despite skyrocketing prices in many parts of the world, while greenhouse gas emissions must still be curbed as the effects of climate change start to impact very visibly everyday life. And this is very welcome to meet the growing expectations of our customers, right? They are more connected than ever, and they are requesting resilience, lower cost, and new services, cybersecurity, respecting their privacy while possibly monetizing their data. Hey, what is the path forward? Well, definitely the path forward is smart electrification. And a very strong smart metering infrastructure is still a first foundation for customer engagement, flexibility, and for enabling the full value from digitalization and decentralization. Technology is blazing forward, but the complexity is rising very, very steeply. The success of our massive rollout will critically depend on system engineering skills and industrial strategy of highly seasoned players. And last but not least, standardization is more than ever a master key to take up the challenge. And IEC, I'm representing it today, is committed to deliver an enabling portfolio of technical standards. We have to acknowledge that India has major cards in hand. There are many areas in which India is moving forward towards a green transition that needs to be recognized and applauded. The progress on renewables, the budget announced on hydrogen, net zero commitment by the railways, the work on energy efficiency. And done correctly, the method and mechanisms of India's low carbon transition can provide a replicable template for energy development across the world, especially for mitigating carbon emissions, ensuring affordable energy access for all, and eradicating poverty. The prevailing sense across the political and investor class is that India's clean energy revolution is more certain now than ever before. In the space of 2 years, India's solar and wind energy prices have fallen dramatically, undercutting average coal prices by approximately 25%. At the same time, investments in clean energy projects have risen rapidly, with 42 billion flowing into India renewable energy project over the past 4 years. Crisis recovery efforts must focus on building back better. And as the UN Secretary General said, clean energy is the ticket to growth and prosperity. Cheap, reliable energy and the digital revolution is driving the economic growth globally. For digital revolution, India is already the software factory of the world, and Indian engineers are very gifted in that area. For energy, we have to recognize that ISGF has been tirelessly investigating and outreaching for years and is a very strong asset ready to support smartest path to deployments. And as a public-private partnership, ISGF is a unique open nexus platform for government and regulators, utilities, and solution providers. And much beyond the borders of India, ISGF is recognized worldwide, one of the first to join the World Global Smart Energy Federation. And so ISGF is publishing very relevant deliverables, newsletters, and organizing events that are very effective connectors like this India Smart Utility Week, building on the success of already 7 past annual sessions. Please share with me the excitement of this unique opportunity, albeit virtual, to discover what others are doing, to network, and to trigger collaboration opportunities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd really like to thank you for delving on the way forward with regards to energy development and access in India. Thank you so much once again for your wonderful address. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let me take the privilege of now introducing to you our next speaker, Shri Debashish Banerjee, Managing Director, CSC Limited, Kolkata. He is an electrical engineer with proficiency in business management, having rich and diverse industry experience, and he started his career from Areva and moved on to Crompton Greaves and Schneider Electric, heading business operations in utilities, industry, and dealer domain. Ladies and gentlemen, in his current capacity as MD of CSC, he has ushered in a transformative journey to elevate CSC to newer heights of excellence with enhanced operational resilience for effective business continuity during and after any crisis. And in pursuit of his passion to deploy technology for radical change, he's continually engaged in adoption of disruptive technological innovations for delivering a better customer service experience on digital platform, riding the new waves of mobility, IoT, big data analytics, and artificial intelligence. Namaskar and a very warm welcome. And I would now hand over the proceedings to you, sir, Shri Banerjee.
A very warm good afternoon to everybody in this event. Well, to begin with, I would like to state that urbanization is going to drive a lot of development across the globes, especially in India. So by 2050, about 2/3 of the global population are supposed to migrate to urban cities, and hence the cities need to be more smarter to ensure that they manage the environmental, the social, and the economic sustainability of the resources like electricity, water, and gas through optimized utilization. To manage all these smart cities, obviously the code would be the smart utilities who would manage these resources well. And hence there is a requirement to accelerate development and integrate sustainable energy technologies to address the energy security and the climate change issues. So at CSC, we are mindfully adopting various smart and intelligent grid practices and integrating sustainable technologies to precipitate maximum value for our consumers. The shift is obviously happening from large power plants, centralized operation, unidirectional passive consumers to decentralized smaller power producers, DERs, bidirectional flow, and prosumers. So we all have to, acclimatize ourselves to this. And at CSC, we are embracing four mega trends, the 4Ds as I would call it. The first one being digitalization, followed by decarbonization, decentralization, disaster management. These four trends, I think, are going to impact the utility space very much. So coming to digitalization, which is the biggest disruptor which has happened. Gone are those days when we used to say that we have a SCADA, we have a GIS and ERP. Now is the time where we actually have been implementing on a large scale the Industry 4.0 IoT sensor-based technologies, where these sensors which are mounted on our plant and equipment stream real-time data, and we do the data analytics and shifting from the regime of preventive maintenance to predictive maintenance to predictive data analytics. This helps us to keep our assets in pristine health so that the quality and reliability of the power is maintained. And we have found that more so during the pandemic time when there was a lot of lockdown. So, technologies like drones monitoring, pan-tilt cameras. Then second one, coming to the immersive technologies. We have been slowly, gradually scaling up adoption of augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and digital twin to enhance our operational efficiency and safety, and for remote troubleshooting and training. For example, if there is a tripping which happens at one of the substations, immediately there is a message which comes on the mobile phone of the testing department, and they know that the relay has tripped, and from remote they can understand what has happened, do the diagnosis, and do faster restoration. Then comes the big data analytics part, the predictive part. We have used AI, ML, and various algorithms to, solve our day-to-day problems, maybe problem of some low voltage area complaints, then the transformer health monitoring, the HT cable fault prediction monitoring, including social sentiment analysis. Going forward, we are also doing workforce automation and business process automation for agile functioning of these utilities. So in a no-touch world, we are ensuring that a high-touch experience by delivering digital services through, somebody has told me, digital services through chatbot, WhatsApp bot, and now a multilingual voice bot, which is backed up with disruptive and futuristic technologies like AI/ML, NLP, natural language processing, and natural language understanding. When we do a lot of digitalization, obviously cybersecurity becomes important. So carrying out the audit and ring fencing our entire IT/OT system is being done. Coming to decarbonization, as the entire world veers to net zero, India also has pledged to be net zero by 2070. So we feel that 5 major technologies will attract trillions of investments around the globe, like electrification, agriculture, power grid, hydrogen, carbon capture, etc. More and more it will become electric. So there will be a focus on battery control software, efficient building system, industrial electrification, and automation. With this, obviously, we will find out more and more buildings and industries will emit less and less of carbon dioxide. So in terms of balancing the conventional and the non-conventional power used by utilities, both the green power, which is now available in green turn-ahead market or day-ahead market in the exchange, we are doing that to our maximum to meet the RPO obligations. And obviously in the transportation sector, we are co-creating the infrastructure to prime the ecosystem of electric vehicles to bring down emission levels and also electric cooking. Well, we would consider green hydrogen whenever it comes up, or we understand that it will be used for transport, refineries, fertilizer, and steel. Now, coming to the third D, the decentralization, we all know that a lot of solar PVs are coming up, so we are putting up this net billing system. The microgrids are coming up. We are also trying out a microgrid assist in our area, so that in future maybe large establishments and campuses with local generation and storage can get transformed to microgrids in event of any grid failure. Battery energy storage systems also are going to be the call of the day, where reliability will trump cost considerations in data centers, hospitals, businesses, etc. So we are trying out that also, and we are trying out a grid scale storage. Going forward, the utility will not remain a pure vanilla utility. It has to go up the value curve, and it can become distribution system operator, aggregator with more and more renewables and DRs coming up. And obviously, we are trying out models on blockchain as a service to ensure P2P trading so that the consumers, prosumers, and users, they are all forming an integrated network, and they get the best power at the best time at the best price, something which happens outside India. But the one thing I would like to state here, that while we all go to renewables and more PVs, solar PVs, windmills, lithium batteries come up, the circular economy has to come up. So we will have to use low carbon materials and maybe have giga recycling plants with giga battery factories. So this energy transition program should ensure low carbon use of materials. Finally, the disaster management. We have seen that a lot of climatic disasters are happening more and more frequent, which are of high impact and low probabilities, but we are devising methodologies to strengthen our resilience more, our network, so that whenever such storms hit us, we are more ready and we can give customer service at that point of time. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Shri Banerjee. Indeed, the imminent rapid urbanization in the coming years will need us to drive better management, accelerate development, and integrate sustainable energy technologies. Thank you very much for your wonderful address. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, now let me take the privilege of introducing our next speaker, Shri N. Venu, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, India and South Asia, Hitachi Energy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he's been the Managing Director of India since December 2019 and head of the South Asia region since 2016. And he joined Hitachi Energy's predecessor in 1995 and accumulated over 25 years of experience across business units in the company. And I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, a member of the global executive team, he's shaping the way Hitachi Energy advances a sustainable energy future for all whilst balancing social, environmental, and economic value. And he leverages his experiences and network to collaborate with customers to plan, build, operate, and maintain the electricity backbone and future power systems. A very warm welcome and namaskar to you, sir. And now it's over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and a warm greetings from Zurich, as I'm right now in Zurich. And this is also the power of virtual meetings, right? You can continue to be anywhere and keep engaging with this kind of very important events. For me personally, this is a very close to me, but I have been not only me as well as our company has been associating with ISGF since its inception, and I'm very happy to see it's growing from strength to strength over a period of time, and I'm very happy that today is the 8th edition of this flagship event. Let me begin by stating our view, that is the carbon neutral future will be electric, and the changes that deepen electrification in the name of sustainability over the coming 30 years will go beyond anything that we have seen so far. We have seen various analyses, various studies by various global and regional and local agencies on the evolution of total world energy systems, which shows that the global electricity consumption will more than double from 20% today over 40% of total energy demand by 2050. And certain regions of the world will go far beyond this level of the electrification. So take, for example, in India, energy demand is likely to double over the course of 2 decades, as highlighted by our Honorable Prime Minister at the World Sustainable Development Summit recently. This also follows the observation of the International Energy Agency that the country will account for the biggest share of energy demand growth by 2030 and will need to add power system the size of the European Union to what it has now to meet such demand surge. Our transition to an electric future will span primarily into 3 building blocks. The first one, as other speakers have talked about, a large volume of the renewable energy coming in, whether it is the wind, solar, hydro, getting connected to the grid. And the second one, electrification. We need to electrify more. Electrification of the transportation, electrification of the buildings, and also the industrial sectors. The third one is where direct electrification is either not efficient or impossible, introduction of the complementary and sustainable energy carriers such as green hydrogen. And these blocks combined will give us the foundation upon which electricity will become the backbone of entire energy system on which sustainable societies will progress. India is already targeting 500 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030. We have seen the aggressive and ambitious commitments India made at COP26, not only by net zero by 2070, but also the intermediary targets by 2030 is also quite ambitious. One of them is adding 500 gigawatt of renewable. But this huge growth in variable renewable power generation will bring a host of new challenges. Let me just give 2 examples of that. That is tackling the complexity arising from a greater number of widely distributed and less predictable power generation sites. The second one, the need to significantly upgrade and expand grid capacity to accommodate the rapid demand growth. Let me elaborate a little on both. First, to manage fluctuating electricity production and new consumption patterns, our energy system will need to become more flexible, more resilient, and new tools will be required to deliver this. Innovative grid components, as talked by some of the previous speakers, using power electronics will provide the operational flexibility needed to enable grids to become more efficient, more resilient, more flexible. Sensors will provide the necessary information, and the digital solutions will process the huge amount of information in intelligent grid control centers. This will enable faster decision making in much more dynamic environment than we have been used to it. The second challenge is something that we have been discussing often at this forum, is expanding grid capacity. That challenge can be tackled in 2 ways: optimizing the utilization of current networks and upgrading the extending power systems. Here we can rely on clever combination of power electronics and digital technologies to optimize copper and iron efficiencies on existing power grids. Grid capacity will need to cope with more than twice the electricity energy of today. This includes the expansion of high voltage networks and interconnections across the regions, linking renewable energy generated in remote places, such as wind farms located kilometers offshore to the grid. We are also talking about a large solar farm in the Leh, which is thousands of kilometers away from the demand sides. All those things, from demand side perspective, this huge expansion will enable electrification to significantly rise in areas that have so far been low load regions. We can then also expect to see more industrial sites such as steel plants, mining, and many other process plants turn to electrification to convert away from carbon-intensive process while increasing efficiency. The journey towards a carbon neutral energy system is dependent upon extremely flexible, resilient future power systems. They will need to cope with increased complexity introduced by bulk and distributed variable power generated from renewable sources. Whenever grid flexibility is required, the first and most proven technical solution is grid expansion and interconnection. Once this reaches its limit, energy storage starts to play an important role on the pathway towards carbon neutral energy system. Battery storage for electricity has already made impressive strides over the past years. While the rise of variable renewable power production comes a greater need for a short-term electricity storage to ensure reliability of the power system. Battery technology is on its way to becoming the dominant solution for meeting short-term needs. As we all know, it offers highest flexibility and the most attractive cost-benefit ratio. Of course, the battery prices are still just like how the photovoltaic prices have fallen over a period of time. Both technology effect and volume effect has brought down those cases as the business cases, and we believe that the battery prices also over a period of time will do the same way in that. And we are also pleased to see the Indian government provide infrastructure status to the energy storage, and that will bring more capital at affordable rates in that. And then studies have also highlighted the role of hydrogen as a technology. However, for this to be sustainable, we are talking about green hydrogen produced from the renewable energy sources. When planning and designing the future energy market, an important aspect that decision makers should consider is not only to overly rely upon one direction only. Power system expansion and interconnection offers opportunities to link time zones and even climatic zones instantaneously. We have seen connecting the nations, connecting the continents in many parts of the world, and we are also seeing actively here. And we all know that the future energy system needs both interconnections and energy storage. Time is the essence of in the move towards a carbon neutral energy system. There have been several welcome policy announcements and initiatives of late setting ambitious targets for a carbon neutral future. This includes the stimulus initiatives and goals to accelerate India's transition to net zero carbon emission by 2070, and also the intermediate target set by 2030. While this is very, very important from the government standpoint, it's very laudable. It's important that the planning and execution cycles are accelerated to unlock the necessary investments in our energy infrastructure. Policymakers need to set a clear agenda and enable this to happen, which includes putting in place the right regulatory framework and ensuring a degree of collaboration in key areas such as grid codes and market mechanism. And this is where the platforms such as ISGF come in to spur enhanced collaboration between the various stakeholders, government, to bring the technology affordable and technology available locally in that. The challenge is so big that we need all sustainable solutions, current and future. Only then we will accelerate and make an impact. Before I conclude, Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my pleasure to have spoken at another edition of India Smart Utility Week. I thank the India Smart Grid Forum for this platform where I and my esteemed colleagues from the industry, from the government, can share our thoughts and reflect upon how we can together achieve a smart and sustainable energy future for all. I wish you all the best and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for helping us envisage a carbon neutral future with your special address and how focused that it was on key challenges and solutions. Thank you for outlining those, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let me now take the privilege of introducing our next speaker. We have with us Ms. Deepti V. Dutt, Head Strategic Initiatives, Public Sector, Amazon Internet Services Private Limited, and she comes armed with over 19 years of work experience and is focused on strategic initiatives for India PS. And her current focus areas are smart infrastructure, cities, utilities, and transport, digital agriculture, and GovTech program. And she's been with Amazon Web Services since July 2018. Prior to that, she has led Smart Cities Initiative at Microsoft and IBM Global Business Services and handled business development, ecosystem development, and delivery roles around smart cities in these organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, she was also part of the strategy team to roll out the Aadhaar project. So she did a 3-year stint with the Unique Identification Authority of India there. And ladies and gentlemen, she was there involved in conceptualizing and setting up strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's bring her on stage with a big round of applause. I'm going to request ma'am to take the stage and please speak to us. Please address us. Ms. Deepti V. Dutt. Namaste. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
We can't hear.
Sorry. Thank you so much. First, I wanted to thank ISGF and Reggie specifically for putting up such an eclectic forum year after year and the stupendous work that ISGF is doing to bring all industry stakeholders together. You know, we're at a point in the transformation journey when all stakeholders and all aspects are really coming together very well, be it regulatory, be it business mindset, be it technology. That's the best part. You know, today government doesn't have to wait for tech to be ready for large scale deployment, and tech does not have to wait for government to open up doors for innovation. We are at a point where all of these things are coming together very well. And across all areas in utilities, we are seeing disruption, be it sustainable development, energy security, reliable and quality power, financial resiliency of energy sector, electric vehicle, water for all, city gas distribution, you know, any area in utilities we talk about, and we are seeing coming together of regulatory, business and technology changes to make this all happen and go on a much faster, accelerated path. And this is very well reflected in various government programs such as RDSS, Jal Jeevan Mission, charging infra guidelines that are recently released by Ministry of Power, the PLI scheme for domestic manufacturing of battery storage, etc. And with such large scale transformation that we are seeing, you know, technology is not just going to be an enabler, but it's going to be a driver for change. Technology is going to lead a lot of changes that we are really seeing in the country at this point in time. And what's more interesting is that, you know, India has definitely been in forefront when it comes to technology adoption and innovation. It's very well established that, you know, the digital ID platform or the financial interoperability, banking interoperability, peer-to-peer transfer, everything that's been built in India, it's far ahead of any other country globally. And I'm sure that, you know, in next couple of years in power domain, we will see that in utilities domain overall, we'll see that technology in India is far ahead of any other country. Let me talk about some specific, you know, changes that we are seeing and how I feel that it's going to really be transforming the overall landscape in next couple of years. Talk about power domain. You know, RDSS has been a key focus now for over a year now. It's one of the biggest government programs, and it will make India the biggest market for smart metering implementation. You know, no one other than China can really talk about population hour scale, right? And 250 million smart meter rollout, it's going to be the biggest ever implementation in this particular area. And what's more interesting is RDSS has a very comprehensive view of technology across, you know, the wide sector of power distribution, ranging from IT, whether you talk about smart metering, billing modernization, or whether we talk about OT technology of how do you modernize SCADA, DMS. It also talks about how do you bring it all together, how do you create those, you know, leverage latest technologies like blockchain, AI, ML, etc., to actually solve bigger problems and bring various domains, various problem statements together. So it's a lot of holistic look is really happening now in this overall sector. Also, if you look at it, the scheme also demonstrates the government's willingness to really take the PPP to a very next level. The boot approach that it talks about, the deeper relationship between private sector, the new models like TOTEX, which combines, CAPEX and OPEX and talks about total expenditure and funding basis that, the startup encouragement that's happening in this area. So I think, the changes that are happening and the decision makers in driver's seat, the way PSUs are leading a lot of these initiatives, PGCIL, REC, IntelliSmart, ESL and the likes, the 250 million smart meter that we're expecting to roll out in our country, it will bring obviously a lot of business benefit. And, also considering the volume that we're looking at, it's going to be a very complex program. We know that the challenges that we have faced so far in about 10 million smart meter rollout projects that's currently underway, right? I'm hopeful that deliberations that we have in smart metering thematic session later on in this event will help us identify what more and what different needs to be done to expedite the rollout and reap maximum benefit out of this entire initiative. Similarly, if you look at water domain, Jal Jeevan Mission, it talks about leveraging IoT and other advanced technology to ensure portable, equitable supply of water to all households. And it talks about across the value chain, how do you really look at water usage, distribution, and things like that. It talks about how do you really ensure quality water supply at tap level in the rural parts of the country, right? It also talks about groundwater monitoring, reservoir pump management, and things like that. It talks about monitoring leakages and non-revenue water as well. So if you look at a very holistic approach that government has started off with, and tech companies, tech is really supporting this entire thing. In CGD, if you look at, more and more geographical regions are being covered by CGD. The current bidding round happened, 60 more geographical areas have been covered. So with this proliferation, CGD, city gas distribution utilities they're also focusing a lot on improving customer service. We are also looking at how existing DISCOM solutions or the customer databases and planning that's already DISCOMs have done. After all, it's the same household where electricity supply is done, where the gas supply also needs to happen, right? So we are seeing an interesting coming together, confluence of DISCOMs and city gas distribution companies to make this happen for the citizens and the end impact that we're looking at the country. So very interesting approach that's developing in that area also. Similarly, if you look at if we see electric vehicle space as well, the recently released guideline from Ministry of Power in Jan 2022 to enable faster adoption of electrical vehicle in India while focusing on security, safety, scalability, and things like that. Again, overall easing of the domestic manufacturing of battery storage and things like that, green hydrogen that we're talking about. So all the sustainability and electric vehicle, again, huge momentum that's picking up. In the related development last year, not very core to utilities, but will have a huge impact on utility sector. Last year, 15 February 2021, government eased out geospatial policies in a big way in our country, allowing for drones and spatial data and LiDAR-based images and things like that. 3D mapping of cities is beginning to happen here. It will have a huge bearing on utility sector as well. And that it will have bearing across entire value chain, across all domain, whether we talk about electricity, water, gas, electric vehicle planning, across all domains we'll see impact because of geospatial policy changes. And it will happen across the value chain from feasibility analysis, network planning, operation monitoring, asset management, so on and so forth. So ministry, regulators, individual utilities, tech, business, everyone is coming together very well to make this happen. We are currently at a cusp of a huge transformation, and ISGF is definitely playing a big catalyst role. I'm really looking forward to deliberations across next 3 days to look for ways how we can be part of expediting this journey and make it less frictionless. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dutt, for that wonderful address. Technology is promising, and advanced technology will continue to steer India ahead and transform the overall landscape in the coming couple of years. Thank you very much for that positive and very, very enlightening address. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's now move on to bringing on our next speaker, Professor Jean-Michel Glochon, Director, Florence School of Regulation. And ladies and gentlemen, he has worked in the industry and private sector before becoming professor at La Sorbonne. He has been advisor of DG Trend, DG Comp, and DG Research at the European Commission and of the French Energy Regulatory Commission, and also been a coordinator and scientific advisor of several European research projects. With that said, it is such a pleasure to have you in our midst, sir. I'm going to now hand over the proceeding to Professor Jean-Michel Glachon. Welcome, sir. Namaskar. To the next speaker. Praveer Sinha, sir? I think we're just finding trouble connecting to Professor Jean-Michel Glachon. We're going to bring him back, but for now, I think I will now request our next speaker, Shri Praveer Sinha, Managing Director and CEO, the Tata Power Company Limited, to take the stage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he is, as I said, the CEO and Managing Director of Tata Power Company Limited, India's largest power integrated company with a significant international presence. And the company has its presence in all segments of power sector, fuel and logistics, generation, transmission, distribution, and trading, and one of the largest renewable energy companies in India, and has developed the country's first 4,000 megawatt ultra mega power project at Mundra, Gujarat, based on super electric technology. Now, Mr. Sinha himself comes armed with over 34 years of experience in generation and distribution sector, and has been responsible for developing and setting up greenfield and brownfield power plants in India and abroad. And of course, contributed in bringing about. There he is. All right, sir, over to you. Please take it away. Namaste and welcome.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, depending which part of the world you are. And such a pleasure to be joining for this inaugural session. I've been doing this for last many years, and thanks to Reggie and ISGF for giving me the opportunity. I have been a strong votary of the work that ISGF does, and Reggie passionately, along with Rina and all the team members, drive. And I think in last 10 years, a huge amount of change and transformation has happened in the way energy can be produced and used. And I think with more and more of this change happening, where decentralized, decarbonized energy will be produced and used, and also using digital technology, we will find that the grid becomes very complicated, very complex, and there is a necessity to make this a smart grid so that it has its own ability to manage the grid and the complexities which are associated with the grid. This becomes more important for a country like India, where our grids traditionally were not, and when I am talking about the grid, I am talking more at the sub-transmission level, at the distribution level, where it has not been traditionally very automated and to that extent was not a smart grid. And it's very important for us, considering that there are huge changes which is happening globally. Our country itself has taken a stand that it will become net zero carbon, but in a short term, by 2030, it's talking about 500 gigawatt of non-carbon generation, and that means solar, wind, storage, and hydrogen. And also in terms of some of the other distribution-related solutions, in terms of demand-side management, demand response. And with more and more penetration of renewables happening in the grid, with more and more electric vehicle coming into the grid, it becomes very important for India to not only adopt the smart grid technologies, but also drive this technology going forward. Especially considering that we have grand ambitions. Next 9 years, 350 gigawatt of renewable or non-carbon energy will be put into the grid. The complexities that will happen in the grid, and especially many of this will be on a decentralized basis, whether it is a rooftop for residential purpose, industrial purpose, commercial purpose, it is solar pumps, microgrids. It will mean that we need to actually reinvent the grid and monitor it and run it efficiently. And I think this is an opportunity for us, because we need not unnecessarily keep on adding capacity in many of the facilities which will become redundant in the years to come by. Especially when we look at it, that how globally there is a huge push for renewable energy and how India is positioned to drive this change. We have seen in our country itself that in last 5 years there has been huge push in the renewable, but the next 10 years it will be many more times than what we have done in last 5 years. And for us, there cannot be a much better time than the present, when we have the ability, we have the knowledge, we have the experience, and we have global players who have done this in their countries for last many years. We talk about smart meters. Enel Italy started this in 2002, 2003, and they have more than 20 years experience, and we can understand from them that how they have gone through the implementation of smart meters, what sort of communication technologies they have used, and what are the improvements and the analytics that can be done to provide more reliable supply of power, as also number of customer interventions that can be provided. We talk about condition-based monitoring, we talk about preventive maintenance and things like that. Now, these are already tried and tested, and I think going forward, the more we use these technologies, the better will be the solutions. The integration or the marriage of operational technology with information technology again gives us a great opportunity to use the know-how and the domain knowledge that our people have in our country. In fact, many of the utilities globally use Indian IT companies for managing their CRM as well as the grid management solutions. And I think for us in India, we can use all these and customize it to our requirement. It's a question of having faith in the technology and understanding and picking up quickly and implementing it. Fortunately, in Tata Power, we have been able to implement many of the technologies, starting from the automation to the SCADA system and the GIS and the advanced distribution management system, and also integrating it with the customer relationship management tools that we have. And we have seen that in the Indian context, large number of customization is required. But this is something that we have the unique capability in India to implement it. We recently took over about a year back the Odisha discoms, the 4 discoms, where basic ERP itself was not implemented. We implemented this in a record time of 70 days to 90 days. The CRM itself got implemented in about 6 months to 12 months time. And I think we have demonstrated that even de novo, you start afresh in a place where there is no ERP, there is an opportunity to do all these things in a much quicker time, considering the type of experience globally partners have and also the experience that we have in India. I'm delighted that this round of the India Smart Utility Week, we are having huge number of seminars, exhibition, panel discussions, country discussions, and many of our partners who are there from these countries, especially the European Union and many of the US companies who have worked with us. It's a great opportunity for us to learn from them, to understand how in a very complex environment they have been able to manage their grids, whether it is at a city level or a state level or at a province or a country level. We also are fortunate that many of the exhibitions and the interactions will help us to understand how they have complexities, and including complexities in regulations, complexities in policies, and how our regulators, our government policy makers can understand and use them for bringing better quality service to our consumers and also affordable and clean power to them. So my take on this is that this is a great opportunity, great platform that has been created by India Smart Grid Forum. The yearly India Smart Utility Week that they organize is now a marquee event for all of us to come and exchange ideas and learn from each other. And while we miss the opportunity to have the physical meeting, and I remember, I think it was 4th, 5th March, that we had the last meeting in 2020, and we miss meeting people, but I'm sure once things improve, Reggie will organize a physical meeting and not just virtual meeting, and we can all meet together once again and learn from each other, because learning is not only just panel discussion, but what more we do during the lunch break and the coffee break and the evening time that we spend together. So once again, thank you and best wishes to ISGF for this 3-day event. And I'm sure that this will be phenomenal in terms of the learning and the opportunity of sharing that with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind words. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you as well.
Thank you very much, Shri Sinha, once again for that pertinent special address. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me now invite Ms. Gauri Singh, Deputy Director General, International Renewable Energy Agency. And she brings more than 30 years of experience with her in policy advocacy and project implementation within the field of renewable energy and sustainable development from India and the international system. And prior to joining International Renewable Energy Agency, Ms. Singh worked within India's federal government and at the apex level within provincial government as well. And federally also, she was responsible for leading the development of the National Solar Mission of India policy in 2010. And also, let me tell you, in Madhya Pradesh, she played a key role in drafting the framework for the State Right to Water Act. So many more achievements listed there, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar, ma'am. A very, very warm welcome to you. And now it's over to you. Ms. Gauri Singh.
Thank you so much. And at the outset, let me thank you for inviting me to share IRENA's perspective at the India Smart Utility Week. And thank you so much, Mr. Pillai, for your very kind words in your welcome address. So I think, the discussions and the speakers that we've been hearing is really, we are hearing the DISCOMs of today who are gearing up for, for the future. And, it's important to see what their thinking is as the country makes this very rapid transition to a greater share of renewables in the electricity mix. When we move away from the traditional power systems, which are largely composed of conventional synchronous generators, into these diverse generation assets that are distributed and decentralized in operation, and as the variable renewable energy grows exponentially in the installed capacity, the challenges to the system operation are inevitable. And again, we've heard from speakers, and very rightly so, that the large 3 trends that we can see in the power systems as they're evolving are decentralization, digitalization, and electrification of the end users, which is really driving the growth. So this entire change in the way the systems, the power systems have to be for the future comes at a cost to the system, and the system operator has to ensure not just to make sure that the system is flexible and is able to accommodate the frequent imbalances between demand and supply, but also has the stability to recover from any contingency, and I think that's also extremely critical. So in a highly digitalized future that we can see unfolding before us, and with strong climate policies which are being put in place, electrification of the energy systems will be pervasive. Today, we have electricity taking a 21 share of the total final energy consumption. And this, according to our estimates, which are detailed in our World Energy Transition Outlook, is slated to grow rapidly and reach more than 50%, making electricity the main carrier of energy in the future. And currently in India, we know that we have about 10% variable renewable energy in our generation mix. But with the kind of very ambitious targets that have been set out for 2030, we can expect this share to treble. And globally, we are expecting that the variable renewable energy will grow to about 63% by 2050. So, we're looking at electric or fuel cell vehicles, which would largely replace the fossil fuel cars and trucks. We are already seeing this happening in Delhi. And we will see electric boilers replacing oil and gas furnaces in industry. And electricity, as we know, will also be required to meet the very ambitious goals that have been set with the new hydrogen policy that's just been recently announced. So the combining this widespread electrification and digital technologies on one hand and renewable on the other can become definitely the central pillar of energy and climate policy, given its numerous benefits. And in today's traditional electricity systems, demand is viewed as variable, but relatively inflexible and predictable. So small variations can be covered by operational reserves at fossil fuel or hydro generators. Most flexibility to meet variable demand comes from the supply side, where dispatchable power plants can be ramped up or up or down. But the RE electrification will create a very different system. Overall demand for electricity will rise significantly in transport, buildings, and industry, which will create new markets. And with the with solar and wind, which we expect to be the key suppliers of this new market, the electricity that they generate will obviously vary with the prevailing weather conditions, and this a greater share of variable renewable energy in the power system obviously poses increased operational challenges. So the RE electrification strategies to meet these emerging operational challenges by looking beyond the generation side of power system and tapping all available sources of flexibility is very critical. And here I would really like to emphasize the case for flexibility of demand over a wide range of timescales. And we can take, for example, the emerging case of charging of electric vehicles, which can be ramped up or down within milliseconds or shifted by several hours. So to deliver this new system in a cost-effective manner, simply switching to electricity in end users and building new renewable generation is not going to be sufficient. Of course, the electrification strategies will require smart devices, and we've heard of DISCOMs and the digitization focus that they have. But integration of smart approaches in a combination with digitization will be the key to reduce the risk of rising peak loads and expanding opportunities for RE power utilization, and to avoid the need for massive investment in building new grid infrastructure. So in a sense, the smart electrification with renewables creates its own virtual cycle where electrification drives new uses and markets for renewables, which then accelerates the shift and the switch to electricity for end users, creating more flexibility and thus driving further renewables growth and technological innovation. And growth and innovation also reduces costs and creates additional investment and business opportunities, and I'll just speak about it in a minute. So, this kind of a transformation is not trivial, and energy systems, as you know, are both complex and highly integrated making them very difficult to change. So on the policy side, even though we have a very good policy environment and a political will, transforming markets and supply chains will still take many years. You know, people replace their heating equipment, cooling equipment, or cars every 10 to 15 years. And in some parts of the world, the building stock is getting renovated at rates less than 1% a year. So, you know, these are things that need to be kept and taken into account. So while you know, on the technical side, the transition has considerable challenges, but apart from that, what's also very critical to understand is that this is not anymore, you know, just and I'm speaking in the context of the Indian government. It's not just what the power ministry will have to deal with, because it will also require coordination between the other sectors of the economy, both in planning and operation. So while basic technologies needed for the transition exist, but still innovation will remain critical. And finally, I just want to say that you know, with the very strong ecosystem that's emerging for startups, and the opportunity that deployment of smart meters will bring, I think there is a need to create a policy framework that enables this interface of what you know, the digitization will be able to provide for getting more players who can create business cases for creating the demand side flexibility, which I think is equally important for managing the grid. So let me stop here, and thank you once again for having me.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for making your presence at this event. And I have to say thank you for your valuable perspective and Irina's perspective and preparing us for the future. Thank you very much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to invite forward His Excellency Ugo Astuto, the European Union Ambassador to India. And to introduce him, I'd like to say he entered the Italian diplomatic service in 1991, and his career in the Italian Foreign Service spans experience in the embassies in Nairobi and London, including the alternate director for Italy in the EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, in the permanent representation in Brussels and in the Embassy of Delhi between 2008 to 2012, where he served as Deputy Head of Mission. We are so delighted to have you in our midst, sir. Thank you very much. Namaskar and a very hearty welcome to you. And it's over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm particularly glad to be here again with you all at this edition of the India Smart Utility Week. But before I start my presentation, I would be remiss not to recall the dark developments taking place as we speak in Europe. We are at a tragic juncture in Europe, where the unprovoked and unjustified Russian aggression against Ukraine is putting into question the very foundation of the rules-based in international order, respect for international law, for the UN Charter, for the very life of innocent citizens. And these basic principles that underpin the rules-based world order are also at the foundation of our efforts to fight global challenges, the efforts of the EU and India in fighting climate change. And here, let me come at the let me start my presentation and let me come at the outcome of COP26 and at the very important announcement made by India there about the net zero target for 2070 and about the non-fossil energy capacity target of 500 gigawatt by 2030. I think Prime Minister Modi's announcement helped to keep the focus on the 1.5 goal set by the Paris Agreement. So 1.5 remains within reach, but it's far from a foregone conclusion. The work is far from done. We need to implement the promises made in Glasgow as rapidly as possible, and then aim higher. Several new emission targets have been announced in Glasgow and interesting initiatives launched. And let me recall here that more than 100 countries have joined the global methane pledge. Based on existing national policies, our planet is still on course for a disastrous 2.7 Celsius of global warming. If all of the new announcements made during COP26 are realized, we still are on a path, on a very risky path, between 1.8 and 2.4 Celsius of warming. So if this is a background, I think it's clear that all the parties must focus, and as agreed in Glasgow, that they have to revisit their commitments by the end of 2022 to put us firmly on track for a 1.5 Celsius target of warming. Further clarity is needed on some of the pledges made, and there is no room for complacency. But still, it's encouraging to see that in the case of many countries, positions have shifted since the last COP in Madrid 2 years ago now, and we have seen the announcement of many climate neutrality commitments. This is absolutely indispensable because, as we have all read, last Monday, the IPCC published in its latest report a very the IPCC traced a very alarming picture on the impact, adaptation, and the vulnerabilities related to climate change. The impact is already here among us, and it's affecting people more intensely, more frequently, and over a wider geographical span than expected. So we need to act now, fast and consistently. When it comes to the European Union, we are guided by the European Green Deal and by the climate law, which makes our commitment legally binding. So not just generic aspirations, but legally binding provisions. So we need to deliver at least minus 55% of net greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And we need to reach climate neutrality by 2050 in Europe. So we have set in motion a Fit for 55 package of proposals on climate and energy reforms. We also need to work very closely with our partners. And as agreed at the EU-India leaders meeting in May 2021, we are working closely with India in the area of clean energy transition. An area, a dimension which will be crucial to achieve our energy targets and to ensure energy security. We have had a very fruitful discussion recently in December at the high-level EU-India Energy Panel. And together we have established a detailed working program which includes cooperation on energy efficiency, renewables, as well as cooperation with International Solar Alliance, or on green hydrogen, on grid integration and sustainable financing. And we jointly established the India-EU high-level platform on smart grid replication. It's an initiative which is meant to identify possible opportunities and barriers for smart grids projects in India. And today, in a few moments, we will launch the Smart Grid Replication Handbook for India, based on the work of these platforms. So smart grids and power market designs are crucial parts of our cooperation. We have we need to have smart and efficient networks to be able to make optimal use of the installed capacity of renewable energy. So we need to focus on the exchange of knowledge, expertise, and technologies. And at this Indian Smart Utility Week, we will organize the 11th EU-India Smart Grid Workshop, which will dwell on the experiences gained so far and new projects of interconnection of regional grids in Asia. We have also endorsed with India an ambitious and comprehensive connectivity partnership last September. And it's an initiative which fits well with the Global Gateway Initiative, a major policy initiative launched by the Commission to boost smart, clean, and secure links in the digital, energy, and transport field across the world. Global Gateway stands for sustainable and trusted connection that work for people and the planet in order to tackle the most pressing global challenges. So let me conclude here by saying that the work ahead is considerably significant. It will require considerable efforts by all individual members of the international community and collectively together. And the EU and India can be leaders in this respect. So congratulations for the very relevant and topical program of this event. And the issues that you are discussing at this India Smart Utility Week are crucial to delivering an effective energy transition and to meet our climate targets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that wonderful address and giving us hope for the future and your contribution and cooperation always. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I regret to tell you that we are lagging 20 minutes behind schedule, and however, next in line to speak was our special addressee and very eminent speaker, Shri Ashok Labasa, who's the Vice President, Private Sector Operations and Public-Private Partnerships with the Asian Development Bank. But the Honorable Minister of State for New and Renewable Energy, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, Shri Bhagwan Khuba, is now here with us. So I seek Shri Labasa's permission to let our chief guest speak first, and then I would go to you, sir, if that's okay. Thank you very much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me take the privilege of introducing our Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the Honorable Minister for State for New and Renewable Energy, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. He's an Indian politician who has been serving since July 7, 2021 as the Union Minister of State for Chemicals and Fertilizers, New and Renewable Energy, and member of the Lok Sabha from Bidar Lok Sabha constituency in Karnataka since May 2014. He's a BE in Mechanical Engineering from Siddha Ganga Institute of Technology, Tumkur. I have to say about him that he's an engineer by profession, a very able statesman by choice, and a farmer by passion. And with that, I will request President India Smart Grid Forum to please officially greet and welcome our chief guest, the Honorable Minister, Shri Bhagwan Khuba.
Good afternoon, sir. We are indeed privileged to have you as our chief guest for India Smart Utility Week inaugural session today. As you may be knowing, ISGF India Smart Grid Forum was set up by India, Ministry of Power, Government of India, and MNRE is also a very, we work very closely with MNRE and many other government institutions, and we'll seek time, some other time, to come and give you an overview of what all we do. And thank you very much for your agreeing to join us today, and over to you, sir.
India Smart Utility Week 2022, distinguished experts from around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and warm welcome to all. In this 8th edition of India Smart Utility Week, I am pleased that the event's horizon has been expanded to cover smart grid, energy, urban air mobility, water and gas domains. It is indeed a great pleasure to present my inaugural address at the ISUW 2022 Conference and Exhibition. Government of India has taken several steps to promote renewable energy in the country. Citizen-centric policy measures. Today, India has installed renewable energy capacity of 152 gigawatt, which is more than 40% of total installed electricity capacity. By this, India has become the only country to achieve NDCs 9 years before stipulated time. As announced by Honorable Prime Minister at COP26, Government of India is committed to achieving 500 gigawatt of installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuels sources by 2030. Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Minister of Power, Niti Aayog, the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, as well a number of state governments and state electricity regulatory commissions. All have issued groundbreaking policies and regulations to promote renewable energy in the country. Government of India has taken various initiatives towards achieving its target and their pathway towards green and clean energy. Prime Minister's Kusum to support installation of off-grid solar pumps in rural areas and feeder level solarization of agriculture feeders. Production linked incentives, that is PLI scheme, national program on high efficiency solar PV models was introduced with an outlay of rupees 4,500 crores to support and promote manufacturing high efficiency solar PV modules. Further, in budget 22-23, Honorable Finance Minister has announced rupees 19,500 crores of additional support to the scheme. Rooftop Solar Program Phase 2. India provides for central financial assistance of 40% for households to install rooftop solar. The plan is to achieve 4 gigawatt of solar rooftop capacity to the residential sector. Hydrogen mission. The Prime Minister has announced the launch of the National Hydrogen Mission and stated the goal to make India a global hub for green hydrogen production and export. Ministry has issued guidelines on the similar lines to promote production and consumption of green hydrogen in India. Green Grid Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid. The ISUW was jointly released by India and UK at COP26 climate meet in Glasgow. National Offshore Wind Energy Policy. The National Offshore Wind Energy Policy was notified in October 2015 with an objective to develop the offshore wind energy in the Indian Exclusive Economic Zone along the Indian coastline of 7,600 kilometers. Further potential area of the shore of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu have been identified for installing offshore wind energy plants. As the share of renewable energy resources connected to the grid increases and to manage the evolving green grid of the 21st century, Minister of Power and Central Electricity Regulatory Commission have issued several policies and regulations like real-time market for electricity, green term ahead market, green day ahead market, etc. Recently, CERC issued ancillary services regulations which can further open revenue streams for battery energy storage system, that is BESS, thus helping in extracting its true potential and increase its economic viability. I am glad to see that the major focus of the Indian Smart Utility Week is towards new and disruptive technologies in the power sector along with utility transformations. In addition to the bilateral workshop with the EU, the United States and Germany, I am pleased to see several exciting new sessions such as digitalization of utilities, blockchain, women in energy and interconnection of regional grids in Asia. I am confident that all of these sessions will generate fresh ideas which we at ministry will be happy to evaluate as we plan the next round of transformation and programs. With this, I have the pleasure of inaugurating the 8th edition of ISGF annual event, India Smart Utility Week. I wish for a level, lively debate and productive outcomes from the event. Government of India will be open to consider the recommendations as we have done in the past years. All the best. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका. That was a wonderful address and gives us a lot of hope for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let me now take the privilege of introducing and inviting our special addressee, Shri Ashok Lavasa, the Vice President, Private Sector Operations and Public-Private Partnerships, Asian Development Bank. And ladies and gentlemen, prior to joining ADB in September of 2020, Shri Lavasa was an election commissioner in India from January 2018 to August 2020, a constitutional position appointed by the President of India. He served for nearly 4 decades with various government agencies in India, including Union Finance Secretary, Secretary Environment and Climate Change, and Secretary Civil Aviation. And he also served as Additional Secretary and Special Secretary for Power. As a senior member of the Indian Administrative Service, he was associated with a broad array of public policy and program implementation initiatives covering the finance, power, environment and climate change, civil aviation, infrastructure, and tourism sector. And he's also an author of the book, ladies and gentlemen, the author of the book, An Ordinary Life Portrait of an Indian Generation, published in July 2021 by HarperCollins. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you for allowing that change. And now it's over to you for your address. I request you to unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, sir. Your mic is muted still.
Yeah. Thank you. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all of you from Manila, and greetings wherever you are in the world. And thank you for inviting me to speak at today's virtual session. Looks like technology has already bound us into a smart grid during the pandemic, bringing in tremendous efficiency in utilization of resources and showing remarkable results that point to the future workplace. So in a sense, the benefits of a smart architecture created by the application of modern technology are already before us, and that is what this conference is all about. This conference is an important event to discuss best practices and latest technologies in smart energy and smart cities. The work done by the Indian Smart Grid Forum is vital in accelerating the energy transition through clean energy, electric grid modernization, and electric mobility, as well as through working with global environmental and governmental agencies, working with national and international agencies to build capacity and technical expertise in smart technologies is crucial in mainstreaming the clean energy transition. Before I speak about the various initiatives of the Asian Development Bank, let me applaud the insights on smart utilities landscape provided by the previous speaker, of whom I have had the privilege of knowing and working with personally. I appreciate their perspective and their commitment. The Asian Development Bank has recently enhanced its target for climate finance by scaling up its ambition from US $80 billion to US $100 billion of cumulative financing between 2019 and 2030. As part of this commitment, we work with our developing member countries as well as the private sector in these countries to upscale the use of smart energy and smart technologies. We all know that smart technologies play an important role in tackling climate change. Cities are responsible for most of the world's economic activity, energy consumption, and greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, to significantly cut emissions, urban centers will need to both use less energy as well as take greater advantage of periods when intermittent renewable energy is available. Smart cities can help control greenhouse gas emissions by reducing electricity and heat production, as well as by reducing emissions from the transport sector. A smart a requisite for transporting renewable energy generated in remote locations to load centers, something that Gauri also referred to. Now, global greenhouse gas emissions can be roughly trace back to 4 broad categories: energy, agriculture, industrial processes, and waste. Overwhelmingly, almost 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions come from our energy consumption. Within the broad category of energy, 24% of total emissions arise from manufacturing and construction, 17% from transportation, 11% from domestic consumers, and 7% from commercial consumers. Around 4% of emissions arise from the energy consumed by the energy and fuel industry itself. While I'm not aware of a comprehensive quantitative study that catalogs all the environmental benefits of smart technologies, some limited studies provide an indication of just how large these benefits can be. According to a recent report by the Ericsson Group, smart grids can lead to a global reduction in greenhouse gas by approximately 1.5 to 4% by 2030. According to the same report, information and communication technologies, or smart technologies, have the calculated potential to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions by up to 15% by 2030. ADB's work in the smart technology space is vast, but today I want to focus on a few examples of the work ADB is doing in smart energy, smart mobility, and smart cities, especially examples of ADB projects under implementation in India. One example of the work we are doing in smart energy is with IntelliSmart, a leading provider of smart meter assets in India. There's a strong thrust from the government of India to convert the conventional electricity meters to smart meters, something that Prabir also referred to, in line with the government's mission to develop smart cities under the National Smart Cities Mission. ADB is providing financial assistance to IntelliSmart to help build technology infrastructure for its smart meter assets, along with financing the concessions it has won to install smart meters on build, own, operate, and transfer basis. Smart meters result in substantial savings for power distribution companies on the back of improved billing and collection efficiencies. These help in reduced manpower costs for data acquisition, billing, and collection. In addition, distribution companies which are financially stretched benefit from not having to incur upfront capital expenditure to install smart meters. Smart meters enable minimizing the human interface with consumers, thereby reducing rent seeking and leakage of income that should accrue to the utilities. Another example of a project where ADB has provided support in smart energy is in upgrading the distribution system in Bangalore. ADB structured a $190 million combined sovereign and non-sovereign loan to support the conversion of overhead power transmission distribution lines to underground cables with parallel installation of optical fiber cables, as well as installation of automated ring main units adapted with the distribution automated system in urban Bangalore city. This project is implemented by BESCOM and will improve the efficiency of electricity distribution and delivery of electricity supply to residents of Bangalore and support the Government of India's strategy of building an energy-efficient distribution network. The distribution automated system will allow power system to monitor and control the distribution line switch gears from the control center. In addition, optical fiber cables installed as part of the project can be utilized for a smart metering system and any other devices that contribute to making the distribution grid more reliable, flexible, responsive, and smart. In addition to assistance on smart meters and smart grids, ADB has also provided support on developing battery energy storage systems. With the requirement of the rapid integration of renewable power, electric vehicles and utilities need fast responding grid services that can cater to peak demand as well as the variability of intermittent generation from renewable sources of energy. A battery storage system enables electricity to be stored and then delivered within milliseconds, reducing the instability of the electric grid, resulting in more energy to be captured and delivered on demand. A battery storage system deployed at utilities can assist in managing peak power demand, avoiding voltage and frequency deviations through quick ramping up and backing down of power, optimizing the utilization of distribution network, and thereby result in reducing the capex load, providing more stability to the grid. ADB is providing financial assistance for battery energy storage systems in Delhi. Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, AES Corporation, and Mitsubishi Corporation have set up a pilot 10 megawatt battery energy storage system project at a substation operated by Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited in Delhi. The pilot will assess the impact of battery storage on peak load management, frequency regulation, and overall grid stability. This is a scalable model, and if replicated across utilities, would result in faster integration of renewable power in the power mix in India. And I was very pleased to personally visit this project. In these three examples, by working with the private sector and city governments, ADB can provide capacity building and knowledge sharing at a local level, in addition to financial assistance. These projects also serve as pilots which can easily be replicated throughout the country. ADB has also done substantial work on developing smart cities in our developing member countries. We believe that smart cities should be people-first cities. Smart means pivoting around people and their needs so that they can live the good life and fulfill their aspirations and dreams. Technology is simply a means to smartness. Only when a people-centric strategy is implied through the technology that it can become smart and enhance livability. Let me give you an example of a people-centric smart city where ADB has provided assistance. This is the Agartala City Urban Development Project, which aims to provide stronger and more sustainable urban services in Agartala, focusing on smart roads and tourism infrastructure. The project is part of the Government of India's Smart Cities mission and was approved in 2021 with an ADB financing of $61 million. In addition to the loan, there is an attached technical assistance to the project, which aims to provide public awareness and capacity building of agencies in urban services delivery. The project will construct climate-resilient roads and an underground utility corridor with the shifting of electric lines. These activities will improve public health by reducing urban flooding and improving overall air quality. The smart components of the project are being implemented by the Agartala Smart City Limited, which is a state-owned enterprise established by the government of Tripura to develop and implement projects under the Smart Cities mission. These smart city components include an integrated intelligent traffic management system and surveillance with smart traffic signals, closed-circuit television cameras, automatic number plate recognition cameras, rapid transit system, integrated command and control center, and smart network. The previous examples I spoke about, ADB's support through loans, grants, and technical assistance. ADB also provides seed, early growth stage capital to startups with solutions for emerging Asia through our venture capital arm, ADB Ventures. Last year, ADB made a $2.6 million investment in Euler Motors, a smart mobility company based in Delhi. Euler Motors is an Indian manufacturer of light electric three-wheel vehicles for last-mile commercial logistics. In addition to providing capital, ADB has a climate and gender-conscious investor, also helps in building the environmental, social, and governance frameworks of our investments. In addition to work done through loans, grants, technical assistance, and venture funding, ADB also works with governments on building the enabling environment, programs, and policy reform needed to spur smart technologies. ADB is currently processing a policy-based loan to enable market reforms in India, and this is supporting several policy initiatives such as the establishment of an ancillary service market and the streamlining of an open access regime. These reforms will provide additional opportunities for smart grid and digital applications in the power sector. ADB is also in discussion with the Ministry of Power on the financing of the revamped distribution sector scheme, which also has a dedicated component of smart meters. ADB has also implemented several projects and programs related to smart cities, smart grids, and smart transport in our other developing member countries. Recently, in New Clark City in Philippines, which is planned smart and disaster resilient community, we have assisted the government in refining their smart city master plan and in procuring private partners to build a smart grid distribution system and a smart water and wastewater system. Additionally, ADB is working with the government of Australia through the ASEAN Australian Smart Cities Trust Fund to enhance the planning systems, service delivery, and financial management of ASEAN cities by developing and testing digital solutions and systems that will lead not only to smart cities, but cities that are competitive, inclusive, green, and resilient. The program also works with cities in the region to boost private sector collaboration, gender equity, and climate action through smart strategies. There are more than 20 ASEAN cities in the pipeline that the Trust Fund will gradually engage with, including cities such as Baguio, Quezon, and Makassar. In Baguio, in the Philippines, the fund is working with the city government on a flood forecasting and early warning system to mitigate impacts and protect residents, especially the vulnerable. In Quezon, Lao PDR, a smart learning platform is being designed to prepare students for the demands of the job market, providing necessary skills while also helping businesses to increase efficiency. In Makassar, Indonesia, a livable city prioritization platform is in the works, which will support Makassar's vision to become a world-class city. Finally, I would like to conclude by reiterating that any strategy incorporating smart technologies should keep people as a core component of the strategy. Technology is nothing but a set of tools, and when used correctly, makes our lives easier and more fulfilling. As we have seen in the past, technology has the potential to greatly improve the lives of the poorest and most vulnerable and provide new opportunities by leveling the playing field. Let me end by recalling what the UN Secretary General said while describing the recently released IPCC report, Climate Change 2022, Impacts, Adaptation, and Vulnerability, which he described as an atlas of human suffering. And I quote, "Our continued reliance on fossil fuels makes the global economy and energy security vulnerable to geopolitical shocks and crises. Instead of slowing down the decarbonization of the global economy, now is the time to accelerate the energy transition to a renewable energy future. A prompt and well-managed transition to renewables is the only pathway to energy security, universal access, and the green jobs our world needs." Unquote. I thank you all for your patience, and I thank Reggie for inviting me. Reggie, we know, is an inseparable part of the smart grid, of modernization of the power sector, and keeping the idea alive and growing through this forum. I look forward to the deliberations of this forum, adding to the momentum of a smart future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For
Thank you very much, sir, for your significant address. However, we would request you to stay with us as I also invite His Excellency Ugo Astuto and, of course, the Honorable Minister of State for New and Renewable Energy, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, Shri Bhagwan Kubaji. I request you, sir, to please power on your screen, because it's now time, ladies and gentlemen, for the inauguration of the exhibition at ISUW 2022. Let's have a big round for India, Shri Bhagwan Kubaji. I request you, sir, to please power on your screen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the inauguration of the exhibition at ISUW 2022. That I think I'm going to request Shri Ashok Lavasa to please take a moment and declare the inauguration of the exhibition area open. If I would request you, sir, to please do that. Do the honors.
Thank you. I have the privilege of declaring the inauguration area open.
Thank you very much, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to informing you that there is a large EU pavilion, as you can see, and the various booths in this pavilion are Solar Power, Europe, News Grids, Re-Empowered, Meters and More, Sustenance, Merlon, Electrics, Eland, EU, India Clean Energy Partnership Forum, and the booth from Germany as well. With that said, now it's time for the word of thanks. And I'm going to take a moment to introduce and then invite Ms. Reena Suri, the Executive Director of India Smart Grid Forum, who since 2013 brings over 21 years of experience. She's been the Executive Director since 2013, and she brings with her over 21 years of experience in the energy sector and is responsible for the research projects, advisory services, business development, training and capacity building programs, customer outreach activities, members relations, and finances of India Smart Grid Forum, and has been leading various initiatives to increase gender diversity also in the energy sector, and has contributed to the various advisory services, white papers, and research reports. There's so much I need to talk about her with all her contributions there, ladies and gentlemen, but now it's time for me to hand over the proceedings to her so that she can extend the word of thanks. Ms. Suri, take it away.
Thank you so much. Could you just confirm I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. It's an honor and privilege for me to extend the vote of thanks to the esteemed dignitaries for joining us today for this inaugural ceremony of India Smart Utility Week 2022. We are very thankful to our chief guest for the ceremony today, our Honorable Minister, Shri Bhagwant Kubaji, for gracing the occasion with his presence and for inaugurating the digital conference and exhibition of the 8th edition of India Smart Utility Week. Sir, we wish to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to you for your time and participation today. We would like to thank our dignitaries for joining us also for the inaugural ceremony for India Smart Utility Week 2022 and for sharing your insights. I'll start by saying a big thank you to Shri Ashok Lavasa ji, His Excellency Ugo Astuto, Madam Gauri Singh, Shri Praveer Sinha ji, Professor Jean-Michel Glanchon, Mr. Debashish Banerjee, Mr. Amal Sinha ji, Madam Deepti Dutt, Mr. N. Venu, and last but not least, Mr. Richard Schomburg for being here with us and gracing the occasion. Energy sector is going through a huge transformation, rather a revolution. And this revolution is happening because of many factors, and climate change is one of the key factors, as mentioned by our key dignitaries today. And also government's mandate to provide clean, affordable energy to people, not only in the urban areas and also rural areas. our speakers talked about how with digitalization, decarbonization, decentralization, the whole ecosystem of smart grids is changing and making the grids very complex with the mini grids, microgrids coming into play. A huge amount of renewable energy getting injected to the grid, electric vehicles coming into play, demanding huge amount of energy. We have introduction of energy storage technologies, which will play an important role supporting the peak load management and helping us bridge the demand gap. And that's not all, but as the new technologies, interventions available to better manage the power system, supporting the digitalization of systems such as solutions like big data management, automation, cybersecurity, smart metering, AI, ML, cloud systems, and many more, as highlighted by our key dignitaries today. We are looking forward to the very insightful 3-day deliberations as part of India Smart Utility Week 2022. And looking forward to hear from experts, not only from India, but around the world, who will be joining us to share their expertise and experience in various plenaries, thematic sessions, workshops, and roundtables that have been planned and organized as part of this edition of India Smart Utility Week. I take this opportunity to thank all our speakers who will be joining and the delegates who will be there participating, and looking forward to an intensive and productive discussions during the sessions and a very insightful 3-day program. India Smart Utility Week has come a long way with the 8th edition of this program today, and has become a global signature event in smart grids and smart utilities. And this would not have been possible without the support from all of you and our partners, our supporting ministries, partner utilities, supporting organizations, all our industry partners and media partners who have joined us and given their unconditional support to the program. A big thank you once again to our chief guest for inaugurating the India Smart Utility Week 2022. Once again, to Shri Bhagwan Kubaji and all our key dignitaries for joining us today. We really appreciate your presence and your time, and your extending a kind support to India Smart Utility Week, and as well as all the endeavors of India Smart Grid Forum. And thank you so much. With that, over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for rendering that very heartening word of thanks. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to release the white papers. And of course, there's launch of new initiatives that's going to take place. For now, I have to, be requesting for the launch of Smart Grid Replication Handbook for India, CBA and SRA for replication of smart grid projects by European Commission, FSR Global, and ISGF and Comilla's University. I am going to invite first, His Excellency Ugo Astuto, European Union Ambassador to India, to please launch and unveil this report, this handbook. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam. Yes, this is India high-level platform on smart grid replication brings together a group of 30 high-level experts from the European Union and from the Indian side. And it has been organizing a series of workshops and technical exchanges to help develop precisely a handbook containing insights and tools which we hope will be useful for the implementation of innovative smart grid projects in India. So let me congratulate the platform and particularly the co-chairs, Professor Jean-Michel Glachan from the Florence School of Regulation, and Mr. Arun Kumar Mishra, Director of the National Smart Grid Mission. So thank you very much for your excellent work. And if I may, let me formally launch with you all the Smart Grid Replication Handbook for India.
Thank you very much, sir, for launching the Smart Grid Replication Handbook for India. And with that, I think I should now request Professor Jean-Michel Glachan, the Director of Florence School of Regulation, to please address us before I invite Shweta to explain more about the handbook. So, Professor Jean-Michel Glachan, sir, a warm welcome to you, and I would request you to please take over and address us. School of Regulation, please address us before I invite Shweta to explain more about the handbook. So, Professor Jean-Michel Glachon, sir, a warm welcome to you, and I would request you to please take over and address us.
Ladies, gentlemen, as just said by our European ambassador in India, Mr. Astuto, India and the European Union came together to share their knowledge into creating a common new body, the Smart Grid Replication Handbook for India. Our Front School of Regulation cannot be more grateful to EU-India Clean Energy and Climate Partnership for its vision and leadership. Together, EU and India, we are more than 1,800 million humans looking at a better future driven by new technologies. In front of our eyes, 2 centuries of steam, mechanical, electrical engineering are ending with the supremacy of information and communication technologies, electronics, and the coming Internet of Things. India, with its world-famous cohorts of engineers and top managers, has much to teach us, the Europeans, about the many futures that can come. Our EU, with its advanced energy regulatory frame and demanding climate policy, has many ideas and tools to be tested and challenged. As remarkably shown in the 44 pages of this handbook, chapter 4, look at CBA and SRA analysis. Our school was born in Florence, the Florence School, but reborn in New Delhi, FSR Global. We are so happy working closely with Indian National Smart Grid Mission and of our outstanding cooperation with India Smart Grid Forum and our dear friend Reggie Pillai and PricewaterhouseCoopers India. The financing by European Embassy in India and the European Commission, DG Energy, is graciously acknowledged.
Thank you.
Long life for cooperation.
Thank you very much, sir, once again. And with that, let me now invite Shweta Ravikumar from FSR to kindly now tell us about the handbook.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Shweta.
Good morning to everyone, and good afternoon to those of us in India. I think as the ambassador and Professor Jean-Michel did highlight, this handbook was designed or developed keeping in mind the practical learnings from both the smart grid projects that were done in Europe as well as that in India. And the central purpose of the handbook was to give decision makers a set of methodologies using which they could assess the various smart grid projects that are being rolled out on both sides of the world. And of course, there are more than 100 different use cases that could be rolled out. But as decision makers, what's important for us is to understand what has a crucial impact in a particular geography and sort of how that works positively for the various stakeholders involved, be it the utilities or be it the customers who are central to this transition into a smart future. So the handbook would give you a status quo of what's happening in the world in terms of smart grids, but particularly an entire bulk of it is focused on giving you CBA and SRA methodologies. Not just that, we have also applied it to certain projects in both Europe and India to quantify the impact of these smart grid implementations, particularly through the use cases. And then we also give a set of recommendations on what lessons India could learn from the different implementations around the world, particularly in the European Union and member states, and how it could sort of speed track its smart grid projects across India. So we have now done it at a central level. Our aim in the next phase is to, of course, take it to the state level and see how we could sort of help stake level stakeholders to sort of speed track the process. With that, I would like to invite all of you to the next session that's happening in the workshop halls, where we will go in length into the details of the report and also a discussion to hear from experts like you on how we could be more useful on the technicalities of this project. So with that, I hand the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ekman. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's now time for the unveiling and launch of the Global Smart Energy Federation white paper on AI and robotics for utilities. And first, I'd like to invite the chairman of the Global Smart Energy Federation, Shri Reji Kumar Pillai, to address us, post which I will be calling on Shri Amit Kumar Pandey, who is co-founder of Being AI, and he's also one of the lead author. He's actually the lead author of the white paper. So I'm going to request Shri Reji Kumar Pillai to please talk to us about the Global Smart Energy Federation white paper, Artificial Intelligence and Robotics for Utilities. Sir.
Good afternoon, good morning. This is the latest white paper from Global Smart Energy Federation, and we had a team from around the world who contributed richly for preparing this report, and it has use cases of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics for utilities, and very relevant in the current context of energy transition. And I would request the lead author of the report, Mr. Amit Kumar Pandey, to talk little more detail about it. I also like to thank and compliment the ISGF team, and led by Vindeshri Rai and Parul and many other experts from ISGF and several other global experts from around the world who contributed richly for this report. Over to Amit Kumar Pandey.
Thanks, Rajiji, for having this paper now released and making it available to everyone. So a very good morning from Paris to everyone, the speakers and the honorable guest. So I will not take much time, but I simply wanted to highlight the needs and content of such a white paper. So as almost all the speakers have highlighted already, new technologies are really coming and they are transforming various sectors at a fundamental level, including utilities. And so we are really witnessing a combination of AI and robotics technologies in utility sector, which is giving us a unique opportunity to solve some of the key challenges, and at the same time addressing some of the societal and environmental needs at grassroots level. So it is also providing a kind of new ecosystem where we can create new businesses, and lots of business opportunities in B2B or B2C directions are emerging. So what I want to insist is basically that robots and AI are no more a challenge to implement. But we should see this as a kind of a strategic opportunity to integrate in the end-to-end solution in the pipeline. And obviously, different regions and different places might have their own requirement, own challenge, and also set of facilitators or enablers. So a more customizable solution will be required for the different part of the world. So robots, if we see them as the body which can physically act in the environment, and AI as the mind, and then IoT as the connected smart sensors, they will enable to do things in a more efficient, safer, and in a better predictive manner, and serving the demand and on-time demand and the solutions for the entire whole infrastructure. So this white paper is a community-driven attempt, which is led by community members and Smart Grid Federation to bring together different stakeholders and showcase the importance and spectrum of roles of robots and AI in utility sectors. So you will also see several interesting use cases within the paper, as well as some initiatives and policies across the globe. So, and this paper again reinforces one of the key messages that there is a need of bigger ecosystem and sustainable initiative. And it was really interesting and great to learn today that government will be also open for recommendations. So hopefully this paper should serve as a kind of recommendation document as well. So hopefully all of you will enjoy it. So I would like to thank again all the contributors, authors and editors, including Mr. Reggie Pillai, Ms. Binjeswari Rai, Parul, S. Samantha, Mr. Sumit Gupta, Mr. Nick Singh, Mr. Isaac Sultan, Mr. Raf D'Souza, and many others who have helped in shaping the paper, both in terms of quality as well as the richness of the content. So thanks again.